Welcome back. We continue our story with Minna Styles. Now, Minna, your mother died,
Yes.
right? And now you are living with an uncle,
Yes.
right? What was it like living with the uncle?
Well, living with the uncle at that time, it was more like I was a helper. So I used to see myself as a little Cinderella, you know. I had was to leave my uncle home
Oh,
and back in the country again.
yes.
Yes, because at that time now my siblings again were there,
Yes.
unprotected. I had 2 brothers and a sister, so we were alone again.
With no parental support, 16-year-old Minna had to fend for herself, her younger siblings, and her newborn. With very little help from her son's father, Minna would seize every opportunity to survive.
I heard I had a granduncle in Spanish Town. Now I sought after that granduncle and I came there and I visited him. I said to him that my father told me about, but I didn't hear from my father, but I was just looking, trying to find a sense of belonging, to fit in somewhere.
How did that relationship work out?
Well, it went well because he was happy to know me. And I had a great grand-aunt at the time who was ill. I told him I was spending a week. And so I spent the week and I looked after my grand-aunt. For that week, she got attached to me. She didn't want me to leave. So her son, who is my granduncle, he asked me if I would stay. I said on one condition, that I could take my siblings with me. And so he gave me that permission. And so I went back to the country for them. And I was there for a good while, stayed and looked after her. And in that way I could get food for my younger brothers and sisters.
Minna made good of this stable accommodation and even enrolled in a fashion school where she acquired a skill in dressmaking. She entered a new intimate relationship. Once more, teenage Minna became pregnant.
I was seeking love, I was seeking acceptance, and I seek it at all at the wrong places.
And with the wrong people.
And with the wrong persons. And so the second father died tragically. And my sister had a daughter also, who I had was to be a mother figure for part-time. And so I realized that I didn't want to be in this situation, this condition.
Right, so you learned dressmaking. How did that work out for you? Was it a profitable business?
Yes, at that time, because there was where I began to get some extra income.
But just when things were looking up, her grand aunt that she was caring for died, forcing Minna out of the living arrangements. Again, Minna's life was thrown off track. She was back at square one, moving to and fro between places and taking with her even more children. Still in her late teens, she moved in with a friend at Riverton City.
There again, I have to be another helper.
To your friend?
To my friend, taking care of her home, taking care, and so there were no food.
Oh, so because you're staying there, you have to work for them?
Work for them.
Oh.
And so on Thursdays, we would have to go to the Riverton City dump to get food.
It was at this dark part of her life, Minna thought enough is enough. Only a bold move could turn the tide. She managed to leave her siblings and younger son in the care of family before heading back to Kingston with her older son. There, she would devote her time to building her dressmaking and fashion business. Surely enough, her determination bore fruit and the business was good.
I feel as if this was life now. And so I began, the parties, because you have to go to the parties to sell yourself, to sell your
The business,
the
and
business
the
and the fashion.
and stuff like that.
Yes, and so I focused on the fashions. And, things was going real good. And I had a friend living with there.
Living at the house that
living
you
at the
rented,
house,
in
yes.
your house.
No, not in my
Same
house. She
yard.
was a tenant. And we become good friends. So whenever I'm going out, I would leave my son with her. If she doesn't have anything, I would find food, whatever she needs.
So you were there for each other?
We were there for each other. And I remember this specific year when, business was good, business was bright, and I went out. And I came in, but it was after the new year. And I said to her, I'm going to sleep. We had a little disagreement before.
What? About what?
She wanted I sewed something. She wanted me was to sew
Something
a
for
dress
her.
for her. But at the same time, the material that I had credited from a store downtown. And I said to her, you have some back money for me. So this material, I have to sew it, make back the money, pay the person who I credit before I can credit from it. Well, I think in her mind, she wasn't pleased. She didn't say it to me. So we had a disagreement there. But I think we had passed that. And I said to her, I'm going to sleep. So I asked her to give an eye. I had my hand over my face. And right in the depth of my sleep, I felt when something poured on me. And I jumped up and I saw her before me and I called her by name. And I said, why you wake me with the water? So I thought it was water at the time. And so I jumped up and she dropped the container and said, what this I do? She said, Jesus Christ, what I do? But when I jumped up,
She said, Jesus Christ,
what I do? Yes. And then I felt as if I was in ants nest. And then I felt the burning and I couldn't see. The place got blurry. So I jumped up and ran outside. No water in the pipe, everything. And there was when I realized that she had poured acid.
What?
On me. Yes.
Where?
As I said, my hand was on my face, so if you see the scars.
So you have the scars from right here near your wrist?
Yes.
All the way up
and to my neck.
To your neck.
And there's a little scar you can hardly see.
Right.
But as the Word of God says, that He beautifies the meek with salvation.
What was her explanation for doing this?
Well, I haven't seen her since. She ran.
Within that moment, she ran?
She ran, and because I had to be paying attention now, to my eyes I couldn't see, and the burning.
So your eyes got damaged too?
My eyes got damaged.
What was it like in the hospital?
In the hospital, I remember the doctors saying to treat her, but leave the eyes because they are totally gone.
Oh Lord, the eyes you're blind?
I was blind.
And you're seeing me
blind,
clearly now?
Yes. I was blind.
When you came to consciousness in that hospital and the days after, knowing that your best friend did this to you and you were blinded, what were you thinking within those moments?
No, I began to look back at my life, the abuse from my parents, the rejection, the abandonment, and I began to view everything coming up. And I said, just as I was going to make life then, in that sense. Now, my friend who I trusted, I was saying who I fed, everything I do for her.
But still here, there's no explanation for it?
There was no explanation.
Do you still need answers?
Well, no. Knowing that I'm now saved. The only thing, I don't know, I don't think she could give me a possible explanation. But the good thing about it, there's a thing in forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you're wrong.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that the person deserves to be forgiven. But it releases you from the anger, from the bitterness, from the revenge.
After many sincere prayers for her sight to be restored, Minna would eventually see again. However, seeing her own disfigured body filled her with horror.
Yes, my neck, it healed on my shoulder and my hand like this. So there was no way for me hiding it. And at that point, I didn't even care. because my sister now, who I look up to, I idolize, they weren't too proud of me. So, you know, they didn't want to be seen with me, my brothers, everybody. I think maybe because of grief, or, you know, they just couldn't accept it. No, looking back.
These were the same brothers and sisters
that
who
I
you
took care of, yes.
Suffering from physical as well as emotional scars and the scorn from her own family, Minna went into depression. It was a kind doctor at the hospital who lifted her spirits.
He said, "You're beautiful." He said, "You can become what you want to become."
And how you want to see yourself.
And I wanted us to see myself as a designer because my mother was a dressmaker and she died. So I wanted was to fit in her image.
Yes.
And so what he said to me, "You are beautiful." So I began to look beyond the scars. And so I started physiotherapy.
Physiotherapy, yes.
And he did some radiation. And, you know, he worked with me. He said, what he told me, he's not supposed to tell anybody, but he knows that I'm somebody who is special. And I held on to those words. And so I pressed so hard for the physio. My hand straightened out, my neck.
Yes.
And he told me, you know, some other things that I was to do, and I continued. I started back my dressmaking again because I said, I'm beautiful.
Yes.
I'm special.
We take a break. When we come back, Minna tells us about the death of her son.
The Alrick Show.